This is Citizen Extra. We're now crossing over to that live feed from Telkom, Kenya.
It was the only thing that I could do. I slept through my phone ringing as people looked for me to pay them back their money. Even though I'd already paid as much as I could, I slept through it stop ringing. I slept through thoughts of leaving the country and restarting my life elsewhere. I slept through it all. But after about 6 months, and I'm in an ode to human resilience, I got back up and I thought, you know what? That was unexpected, that was painful, so I'm going to start this thing again. But my mind wasn't in it. I was battle-scarred, I was battle-bruised, so I decided I was going to head out and I was going to do something different. And I got a job in a technology company that was building mobile financial service software, and I worked there for about 9 months. But in a few short weeks, I was running projects for banks such as Barclays, Standard Chartered, and I absolutely loved it. It was an induction to a new love. My old love of finance was still there, but there was a new love that I discovered called technology. And about 9 months into working for this company, I decided, you know what? It's about time I head out and combine these two loves and build a business. And later that year, the year that I left the business, I went back to my old company, but I set up two things. I set up what I call the Money Academy, which was essentially teaching people how to invest, and I worked with large companies to teach their employees on how to invest. But that was because that was what paid, and I set up a blog online, and I was building a community of investors that I was going to turn into my Pan-African investment bank. This is actually the Money Academy, this participant's manual. This was one of the editions I did by the time I was in 2011. As you can imagine, in 2011 I was 25 years old. So a lot of people would be looking at me and asking, what are you here to tell us? So I had to find older people to teach my content so that people would actually buy this. Then later I met with some VC funds and we came together and we turned that online part of my business into Pesatalk. Pesatalk became one of the largest consumer news business, and we liked to believe, or what we promoted ourselves as doing was actually turning business news into English. You know, that was our tagline. And this was a fantastic opportunity for me because it was the first time I'd actually worked with VC, and it was a great time for people who were funding the business. But after about 9 months of back and forth with people who we kind of saw different opinions on where this business would go, I left. And everybody thought I'd leave, I'd just get all my advertisers who are on Pesatalk, all my writers, and we'd start something new. But after years of just dealing with the same, you know, the startup problem, you know, and it drains you, it kills you, it completely finishes you, I decided I didn't want to do that. So I decided at 26 I was retiring. And I left and I sold all my furniture in Nairobi and I went to Nyeri and I started a chicken farm. I was retired. That was going to be my story. I would be the guy who retired at 26. But in Nyeri I lived there for about a year. And during that year, I kept thinking about this, and I kept thinking, when I was 21, I wanted to build a Pan-African investment bank. I've failed twice so far, but I haven't finished. I haven't done what I set out to do. So, and earlier in that year, before I'd left, I'd actually been invited to speak at Harvard Business School about venture capital in sub-Saharan Africa. And while I was there, I met with different Kenyans, and there was one guy who came to me and said, I'll give you $50,000 today, you go home, and you invest it for me. And I remember asking him, you don't know me, but you're willing to give me 5 million shillings. And he told me a story of how he'd been sending money home every year, but then after 15 years, coming back hoping to, you know, like Augusta, set his life, discover that his family had frittered all that money away and was sending him pictures of fake buildings that they were apparently constructing for him. And he thought, if I can't trust them, maybe you might be a better option. And that was one of the things that influenced me to get back into Abacus. So I came back from Nyeri again, and I decided I was going to set up. And maybe, you know, third time's a charm, and a charm it was. Barely 2 weeks after I got in, an intern who had been working with us as a software developer at Pesatalk called me up and said, hey, do you have an internship opportunity? And I thought, oh, fantastic. Here, come in. We went to the NSE with him. We borrowed a few data files. We built a prototype. And at the same time as we were doing this, my business partner, my current business partner and co-founder, who had been at Harvard Business School, happened to be at home for 6 months. He had just taken a job at McKinsey, and he took his sign-on bonus. You know, they actually pay people for joining companies over there. And used that to fund our initial prototype. And we went out to raise money, and we did raise a bit of money, and we knew for 24 months we didn't have to worry about our bills getting paid because we had raised money from local investors. And about 6 months in, we were hit by another series of unfortunate events. 9 months in, we were hit by another series of unfortunate events. You guys expected this was a Disney story, isn't it? Yeah, no, it keeps getting interesting. In 2015, in October, the bank that was holding the money that we were drawing down as investment was put into receivership. And 15 months the 15-month runway we had disappeared. It didn't disappear gradually. It disappeared. 1 week, we couldn't access money. So in a panic, we started trying to sell this half-cooked product. We went out, we tried to get companies to buy it, pitching to brokers and banks, but everybody kept telling us, you guys, we have a Bloomberg terminal, this thing doesn't quite do anything for us. And so we thought, okay, so we can't seem to sell this, we're going to try and raise money. So we flew to Dublin. My co-founder had a few connections in Dublin, and he came in from Chicago where he was based. We went to Dublin, and one day while we were preparing to do our presentation to a series of investors, we realized that the website couldn't be found. We'd go to abacus.co.k and there was no website. It turned out that the company that was providing us with hosting, a company by the name of Angani, had gone down. So we had no money, and while trying to raise money, we had no website. And so instead of presenting, we spent the day moving, setting up on disaster recovery, our disaster recovery servers. Thankfully, we had managed to secure everything, and out of the maybe 250 people who had signed up at that stage, only 19 needed to reset their password. We didn't lose any data. It was just purely people needed to reset the password. And that was in November of 2015. So we decided, you know what, that also seems not to be working, so we're going to come back and we're going to do one thing we didn't want to do, because we've been building technology. We're going to open this technology up to our partners and they could utilize it for what we were doing. So we opened up the technology and we shopped around asking for somebody to actually get, who would take the license for the software. And what happened was we got a bank that agreed to do this, and this bank was Chase Bank. So barely 2 months after we signed our contract, Chase Bank went down with our money, our contract, and all our clients' money. The reason why...
I should sit back down, right?
Just give me 1 minute. Sorry, I've run over time. But the reason, later now, this year, we've got 7,500, we've got over 20 partners that we're working with, we've got clients from 9 different countries, and we're growing. We're looking at straddling the African continent as a colossus. We're looking at building an African brand. That's our team, and that's the Tajiri board game that we've actually developed, if you'd like to play it. And this particular quote sticks with me, and the reason why I've chosen to tell this story is because Steve Jobs said in 2005 that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. When I look back at my 10 years and every experience and subsequent relaunch, it has been something that is building towards making me a stronger person. And today, as Telkom does its relaunch, after a legacy of years of trying over and over to get started, I think they also will find that they have the same opportunity. The future is in front of us, and while we don't know how to predict it, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. So let's invent the future.
Wow. Before you sit down, I have to ask, how did the chicken farm go, though? Just in 10 seconds, how did that go?
That was another experience. It was good for about 9 months. And then the people who are buying chicken for us, actually a few months ago were in the newspapers that they're getting auctioned. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. They say that failure is the greatest teacher, am I right? And so the theory of fail fast, get up and move on is absolutely correct. I also just want to come back to the word hustle. Do your hustle, and do your hustle with pride. Try, get up again, dust yourself off. And I found a new word for that. Let's stop saying hustler and start saying serial entrepreneur. It just sounds more executive. And with that, let me welcome the next serial entrepreneur to take the stage. His name is Barclay Paul Okari, and he's the founder of Impact Africa Industries, and he's the CEO of Credit Access. His story is quite amazing, because what they're doing is making sanitary pads that are washable. And we know these are some of the solutions we need so desperately. They're also making diapers, and he has a story to share. Let's give him a warm welcome as he comes up. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Hello. How are you this morning? My name is Barclay Paul Okari. I'm founder of Impact Africa Industries, and I wanted to share with you my journey as an entrepreneur, my motivations, and I hope that you find them useful. I was born in a small town called Kilgoris, which is now in the larger Narrow County. And life was good. All we did was eat, play, go to school. My biggest worry was being beaten by the teacher in case I did a mistake or something like that. And in 1997, just before the elections, there was violence. And being from a community that was not from the local guys, we found, my family and many other families found themselves in a very tricky situation where you either moved out so that as the violence, we stayed at the town, so as the violence came towards the center, then you're not there, something like that. And it was a very challenging time. And one instance when we were coming from school, and we used to be escorted by police, all of you are bundled up, and a cop will walk you down to, because all of us kind of lived at this, in town, but the school was out of town. And one time when approaching a junction that leads to a mission hospital, something that has traumatized me up to this moment happened. And there was a guy seated there at a tree, and these guys who were fighting came, and how they know that you're not from the community, they just speak to you in their dialect. So if you don't respond, then they quickly figure out that you're not one of them. We are with cops, and within a flash, they cut somebody's head in front of almost 80 kids. That's always remained something that has affected me up to this time. And I always wondered what made human beings have that kind of bile and negativity to a point that you want to take on somebody's life. And because of that kind of situation at that young age, we knew how to make bows and arrows, we knew how to poison them and stuff like that. At the height of the conflict, just before the election again, my parents decided that it was time for us to move out. So again, cops come, put in back of a lorry, and we left. And a lot of the things that they'd worked hard for, lost in the process. I never went back to the place because of what I'd seen. After that, all these experiences made me very insecure, about what life is and what life can become. So at one point somebody had a parent, the next time they have no parents, then who provides for them? That became my motivation to entrepreneurship. We had a situation where my mom, a primary school teacher, after the election had to go back to Kilgoris. At that time we'd moved to Kisii town, and so you have a situation where she leaves every Monday morning and comes back every Friday evening, and you're left to stay alone with the cousins and other relatives at home. And all these things affected me a lot. And so I figured, what if they went and never came back? That became my moment that I need to find something at that young age, find something that in case they were not there, then I'll be able to fend for myself and my siblings. Long story short, at 15 years old, I started my first business called Skype Science. What we were trying to achieve at the time was to be an online video sharing site for science. And the idea behind it was, I had amazing group of friends, and in my school we had amazing people who did amazing things in terms of ideas. And I always wondered, so all of you put all these things in school called Science Congress and Science Project, where do they go to? And so we did. I started the business. Internet was expensive. Getting a domain was expensive. That time you have to convince your parents to be the people who fund your business. After some time, after 1 year and being in boarding school, the business could not continue. It closed. I took a 1 year break. I started a second business called Marketplace, and what we were trying to achieve at the time was just to be an online selling place. Our business model was wrong at the time. How people were to pay us became an issue. I did that for 1.5 years, and our low revenues could not allow us to break even. And after 1.5 years, again, it closed. The people that had convinced before to give me money were starting to look at me like, dude, there's something wrong with you. I was starting to become a serial failure in that sense. And immediately after that, I wrote a book with the same name, Marketplace. Self-published it for myself. And what I was trying to do in the book is just telling people, I've failed because I did this. Don't do this if you're trying to do whatever you're trying to do. Then I took a break. I was like, I think entrepreneurship is just not for me. And in 2010, joined the University of Nairobi to do my degree. And one time with a group of friends, we went to volunteer as teachers at an IDP camp in Maimahiu. And while there, we thought that the problem was lack of teachers. When we got there, we realized that girls were missing school because they cannot afford sanitary pads. One thing led to another, and I got curious and started learning how the marketplace works, and the idea of starting a production unit became of more interest to me. But again, at that time, you're looking at machines online, and it's $400,000, $300,000 for you to get a production unit. You could not. So you had to do YouTube tutorials and break down a machine and go to a Juakali guy and do prototyping and see if it works. After some time, in 2011, we started a very small production unit with a machine that kept failing 95% of the time. And after some time, we were lucky to get funding and start production. 6 years down the line, we've sold millions of sanitary pads across East Africa. We support, we have a program in the company which supports more than 1,300 schools across East Africa on our sanitary pads program. And from single person with the idea are now approaching 100 employees.
I think that deserves a round of applause. 100 employees.
Yes, we've had now more than, we are approaching 100 employees. We've now moved away from just doing the sanitary pads. We're also doing baby diapers. And sometimes when I look at myself and think about what I've been able to achieve as a young person, a lot of times I think that my story is not unique to me. My story is a story of a lot of young people who each day are out here looking for opportunities to do something for themselves. A lot of young people who are trying commercially viable ideas to the many social problems that we have, and all they are looking for is an opportunity. It's not even about just young people. My story and the story of a lot of young people is the story about Kenya. It's a story of a country which has seen very many low moments, but each time we face those moments, we shake ourselves, pick ourselves up, and move forward. It is my Kenyan story. It's the story of Kenya moving forward. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. So just let me take a couple of things from that. First of all, yes, Kenya has had her low moments, but what we must all commit is that we move forward. We protect the gains, we progress, we move on, and that is absolutely critical. This is why I started off talking about the unbridled possibilities. This is the reason why, but I'm a bit alarmed there's no lady with us right now, so allow me to welcome a lady to the stage, and we have with us Pauline Wanja, who is the Director of Future First, which is a global organization seeking to support the growth of alumni networks focusing on public schools as well. Let's give her a warm round of applause as she takes her seat. Also joining the panel now, let me welcome Chris Sananu to come up and take a seat here on the stage. He heads Enterprise Division at Telkom Kenya, and of course has a very rich history in the ICT industry. And so, let's continue the conversation. We've had some rich presentations this morning. I feel inspired. I also feel really challenged. Pauline, I want to start with you. You're trying to work with alumni networks to kick something off, to spark something, to do more, to engage. Why are you doing that, and what is the progress so far, please?
First, there's a rich history of it, of Kenyans wanting to give back and build their community schools. This is evidenced by the many Harambee schools, the many alumni WhatsApp groups. So our main role is just to bring that infrastructure that allows them to do this in a more acceptable way.
Okay, so in terms of what we need to really continue transforming and to continue empowering these kinds of young people, or even youthful people. I won't just say young people because there are a lot of old people with youthful spirits across Kenya trying to do things. What do you think we really need to have set up in terms of systems and processes?
One is a culture of trust, which already exists. I think.
Trust?
Yes.
Okay.
Because people are willing to give, but where does it go? So building an institution that are trustworthy, that people are willing to give back, to commit to. And there's strong networks that already exist.
Strong networks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Chris, let me come to you. It's particularly fascinating for me as we have this conversation now. I was in Ahmedabad in India a short while ago with African Development Bank talking about transformation of the continent. We were in Accra, Ghana just recently doing the same thing, talking about the possibilities with digital access, affordability, because ultimately it will transform this continent if we can have innovative financial products, if we can sell online, which so many people are trying to do. So what's your sense of where we are and the progress we can still make?
Julie, thanks for that question. First of all, I would like to say the hustle is real. I think we can hear from all these entrepreneurs who've come up that it takes quite a lot, and specifically pushing the human spirit to be able to get these things done. I believe that for Kenya, just like any other African country, telecommunication or technology is the basis for which we are going to move forward. At the end of the day, that's what creates the platforms or allows most of the young entrepreneurs here access to information. Like he said, he had to go online, Google, check the machine, which he'd have had to buy for $400,000. He was able to get a prototype and get some Juakali people to make it for him over here. I believe the same also applies to Pesapal, looking at stuff that's happening outside the country, but see how we can localize it. So bottom line for us, technology or telecommunication is going to be that platform. We, for example, in Telkom, are coming in and we're opening up our systems. The stuff that we want to do, how we want to engage with entrepreneurs or the SME part of the market, because if you ask what is going to move us to the next level, it's these businesses. These are the people who are going to create the jobs for the future. We were at the presidential roundtable yesterday, and the president said only two things. I want to know about low-cost housing and jobs. And the idea is that we need to get more people coming out of universities thinking about creating jobs, not seeking for jobs.
That's really exciting. You know, for a long time we seem to have focused a lot on corporates, but the word now is really how do we support the smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, micro, to really stand on their own 2 feet and to scale up. Augusta, how important is access and affordability when it comes to communication, to digital, to data, and how can that transform the continent? I'll come to each of you with that.
So when we were building our point of sale solution, one of the big, we got a grant from one of the NGOs, and one of the big things they kept saying is build an offline version of this because there is no connectivity, or some businesses will not afford connectivity. And after back and forth, our counter consistently is we're in a WhatsApp Africa. Okay? So when you're looking at opportunity, you're saying, does the consumer have WhatsApp? If they have WhatsApp, they're ready for digital. Okay? And right now for us as a business, or for any small business, you cannot afford not to go digital. Yes.
Joel?
I think access and affordability, to a large extent, even out the playing field, and allows people to actually apply themselves to new ways of doing things beyond expending all their energy just trying to access something. You can imagine in a situation, if we take healthcare for instance, where you don't have to spend days to get to a clinic. If you're feeling unwell, you can get treated and you can get back to being productive. When we look at this and in terms of access on digital access of information as well, it also allows people to make very good decisions. And it's actually been one of the fundamental driving forces behind Abacus, where we take a lot of information that's very unclear, just as we did with PesaTalk, which was to turn it into English and make it easy for people to understand, and they can use this to better their own lives. So it is fundamental.
Thank you, Barclay.
The idea that Kenya is open for business, for me, is around the small and medium-sized businesses, and at the core of it is access to information for their markets, access to information for where they're selling and where they're sourcing the stuff from. And so the whole of that conversation is around how do we make ourselves competitive, or how do you make our small businesses competitive in the marketplace, and the two things come into play are access to information and how affordable is that access to whatever it is they want to get.
Right, Chris, please.
I'd say it's critical. Bottom line, most SMEs, like you say, the basic is how do I get the information I need as fast as possible, as reliable as possible, and in an affordable manner. These days, most Juakali business people would use WhatsApp, like you said. It's a platform for which a lot of people can collaborate. As opposed to having a physical meeting these days, you find a lot of people using that, and that's how they also use to sell their wares. So it's critical. The accessibility and affordability is critical.
Let me come to you, Pauline, on this, and you do development work as well. You are focused on that. So for you, how important is accessibility and affordability?
I think for connection, most of these people are connecting 15, 20 years since they left school, so it's very important to be able to connect.
Okay, so I'll stay with you on this one, Pauline, and I want to tap into the idea that in terms of corporate responsibility, things are changing dramatically. It's happening globally, but I think it's even more critical in Africa today, that a business needs to ask itself, how is it supporting the country, the community it operates in to move forward. CSR is no longer a department or a division in a company. It now has to be the values that company inculcates and literally breathes to make a change. In terms of what you're observing, are we doing enough in Africa, and what are your thoughts on how you would advise companies, corporates, and even small and medium-sized businesses on how they can be part of community building while doing good business as well?
One of the things about is the idea of building communities and the need to give. It's also connecting beyond just the mission of a company. What are the needs in those communities, even just neighboring the companies themselves that they can tap into? And I think even at individual level, people are increasingly feeling need to be part of challenges that they can connect or are empathetic about, and I think we're moving to the right direction. Chris, at company level and at individual level as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Sorry, I come to you on that as well. And you know, with, for instance, the development goals, the SDGs, they are actually now in government performance contracts, I believe. And so government must deliver. How do we encourage, and is Telkom Kenya part of the movement to ensure that it is building the community even as it earns a profit of the community?
Yeah, yes, totally. The new Maslow's hierarchy, if you look at it, now has Wi-Fi at the base of the pyramid. And I think that just underscores the critical nature of communications. And I believe the DG and the team are doing a lot to try and ensure that there's communication across the whole country, using some of the USF funds that we have and stuff like that. At Telkom, we are at the forefront of helping or assisting the government to actually implement its rollout in terms of communication across the country. We've always been over there. We're at the forefront. We might have slept a bit, but I can tell you that we are awake now. The giant is back today.
The giant may have slumbered briefly, but you're saying, Chris, he's back and he's awake.
The giant is back. We're back. We're in business.
Okay.
Yes.
We are in the last few minutes of our discussion. So I want to come to each of you, and I'll start with our presenters who started us off this morning, really for a view looking forward. You've gone through your journeys, you've gone through the failures, you're going through successes. You will probably have more failures and successes as you move on. But what are you feeling? What is your mood about Kenya? When you look at Kenya moving forward, what are you thinking? Give us a parting shot. Augusta, I'll start with.
So for us as Pesapal, we think the value of digital has already been made in the small to medium-sized enterprise. Now we're going to make that, basically sell the same value of digital for the small business. We are very appreciative of the infrastructure. We're very appreciative of the regulatory environment. We can do a lot without worrying about many things, and we are optimistic. And if there's one thing I always like telling people about local business, small business, and you can have a conference about this, the difference between Java and Kosewe is capital.
Wow, right. Thank you. The difference between Java and Kosewe is capital. And for those of you who haven't eaten at any of those places, please make your way. Kosewe is in town and you'll find several Javas across the country. So, Joel, please.
So the default setting for an entrepreneur is that you'll always be eternally optimistic. It's the reason why we do what we do. It's about creating a future that we want to see, the challenges notwithstanding. And when I look at the country and I look at the opportunities that we've got, I've had opportunities to travel to countries that we might consider are ahead of us. I've had opportunities to travel across Africa and see we actually are not doing too badly relative to some few countries. And keeping that perspective, when I look at the country, I think it's just on an up and up. With barely 50 years out of independence. At 50 years, the U.S. was in a bloody civil war. So we are doing pretty well relative to the path that a lot of people have followed. And when we look forward, when I look at the investment opportunities, our markets are still very nascent. We've still got opportunities, for instance, to take what Augusta is doing in the credit facility space and turning that into investable opportunities such that you can lend Kosewe money yourself through an instrument that would be created and traded on an exchange. So the opportunities, I think, just boggle the mind in the sheer size of what's still to come.
Is it? Okay. My parting shot will be a message to young people, and that will be to create the future that we want, for the jobs that we want to have in future. Let's create them now. There is more enabling infrastructure to facilitate that. There's more government support. There's better processes around. The chances of you succeeding now are higher than they've ever been before. Yes.
Yes, at the heart of what you do is community engagement for strengthening public education system, and it's been very exciting to see people connecting back to their schools and public institutions around them, not just going to school at the time of voting, but also caring enough at the schools in the compound, getting a quality education, and what more can we do to strengthen this public education system. So Kenya moving forward, I see more of that, people connecting to the public spaces or the institutions that make Kenya great, and Telkom has been one of them, so this is good.
Thank you. I love the optimism. I love the optimism. Chris, you have the final word.
What can I say? The energy is there. I think we can feel the vitality by talking to these entrepreneurs here. Kenya is moving forward. Telkom is moving forward. Let's do it.
Thank you. Let's give a warmer round of applause, please, to our panelists, and they can take their seats.
Moving forward.
They're moving forward. They're moving forward. And we are moving forward with the program. We're going to just take a few minutes to adjust the stage. But first, I love to share African words of wisdom. So can I share some words of wisdom with you now? I'm borrowing this from West Africa with your permission. It's a West African proverb. And it goes, no matter how hot your anger is, it cannot cook yams. And we want to cook the yams, right? So we are such energetic people. We have many opinions, points of view, which is enriching. And the issue, though, is, are we being progressive in our thinking? Are we moving forward or not? I'm going to welcome you as they just adjust things up here for a few minutes to say hello to the person sitting next to you if you haven't done it already. Meet someone, look around, look ahead, look behind. Meet someone new. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
Nakuomba mpenzi unisikize, tafadhali baby tuliza moyo, kwa kweli niko wako, ili usiwe na shaka, wewe kaa ukitabasamu, mara tu ukiniona, penzi letu halina kasoro, mimi na wewe kote na kiroho, nakusihi tuliza moyo.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You may just have a couple of seconds to take a selfie or take a group photo, post it online, and share. Remember, the Wi-Fi is provided by Telkom Kenya and it's free, so do share. We're going to the next part of our program. As Francis Caparo used to say, order, order, order in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on to the next part of our program, and I'm going to ask you to give a very warm welcome to Telkom Kenya CEO, Aldo Mahoz, as he comes up to make his remarks. Thank you. I had to.
Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, Henry Rotich. Cabinet Secretary, Minister of ICT, Joe Musheru. Welcome. Welcome to this very important day in Telkom Kenya history. I'm excited to be part of this journey and to share our story with you. Almost a year ago, by the day, I was sitting with Henry Rotich and Joe Musheru, closing a transaction in which Helios Investment, the biggest private equity fund in Africa, acquired a 60% stake into Telkom Kenya, while at the same time, the government of Kenya increased its stake from 30 to 40%. Since then, we have been on a journey to turn Telkom Kenya into a future-fit organization and to transform it into an innovative and successful Kenyan brand, offering a full suite of services that cut across the telco industry in the country. Telkom Kenya has a long history in the country. But it's fair to say it has great assets. It has both mobile and fixed networks. both national and international backbone infrastructure, a wide variety of clients, fixed customers, mobile customers, small and medium enterprises, big corporates, local and international carriers, and government entities. It also has a skillful and experienced workforce. Nevertheless, it's fair to say that Telkom Kenya had not achieved its full potential. As Chris just said, we were the sleeping giant. But in the last 12 months, we have worked really hard to turn around the business, make it more efficient, and prepare it for the future. Today, the giant is awake. To accomplish this, we have launched a transformation program focused on 5 key pillars. First, culture and brand. A year ago, when I first walked in, I found a company which had gone through a long and agonizing sales process. Employees had lost their fighting spirit. There was no sense of ownership, no sense of empowerment at the individual level. We have worked endlessly to reinvigorate the spirit and to transform the company culture. We have adopted new values: integrity, customer centricity, innovation, teamwork, empowerment. We incorporated a new mission to provide the best value for a simpler life, efficient business, and stronger communities. A new vision connecting the people that make Kenya move. We also reorganized the business units into 3: mobile, enterprise, carrier services, and mobile financial services, to make us focused, accountable, and responsible. Finally, we strengthened our management team with people with a strong track record across the telco industry in Kenya and internationally. Today, we are all proud to be part of Telkom Kenya. And are all excited to embark on this new journey. We aim to deliver a new, differentiated entity in the minds of our clients, partners, employees, and other stakeholders. To reflect all these changes, we are launching our new brand today. The second pillar is sales and distribution. We are increasing our presence across the different customer touchpoints. This includes enhancing availability of our agents, increasing the number of our shops by 2, as well as intensifying our engagement with our distributors. We have upgraded our customer journey to make it more efficient, simpler, and more engaging. We have revamped our customer relationship management system to the best in class. Our front-facing staff mirror our new corporate value in their engagement with our customers. Third pillar is a network. Expanding our network is essential to deliver the mobile and broadband needs of tomorrow. To this end, we have already invested 5 billion shillings in network and infrastructure expansion and densification. We have increased our number of sites by 50%, over 1,600 sites all over the country, and continue building. We have doubled our capacity, doubled our coverage, as well as our reach in our 3G network. We have also increased our indoor coverage. Today, we're launching our 4G LTE network across 9 towns in Kenya. The company has now the right tools, equipment, and human capacity to get the job done. Fourth pillar, innovation. We're reviewing our money mobile offering and revamping it into a new and truly exciting as well as improved platform. The new platform will be disruptive and flexible, and particularly suited for the young, digitally savvy generation. It will provide unique differentiators, enhanced usability and value through an open and collaborative approach. Fifth pillar, launch of our new and customer-centric products. Our aim is to provide the highest quality network with the most competitive data bundles to power a moving Kenya. We will be unveiling a number of aggressive data offerings over the coming weeks. As a start, these are the products which will be available from today during our launch. First, we'll offer free WhatsApp. You'll be able to chat for free. Share videos, share pictures for free. Call for free on WhatsApp. We're not selling you a device. We're not selling you a product. We're selling you an experience, empowering you and enabling you to be on the move and still be connected. Second, during our launch, we will offer 4G for free. That's not finished. Our new home offer will enable you to be on the move 24/7. With this device, which acts like a portable Wi-Fi, you will be able to get connected at home, traveling, at the office. You'll get 4G speeds up to 70 megabytes per second. Even when you have a 2G and 3G handsets, you will have a 4G experience. It's still not finished. Today, we have the most competitive voice and data bundle on the market. Hola Premium. With Hola, you can cross any network at 1.8 shillings a minute. You can make free on-net calls. You can send SMS free, and you have very attractive data bundles. And last, to enable you to have this great customer experience, we will have in our shops a wide variety of devices at the most competitive prices. I believe that the milestone that we are celebrating today offers a huge opportunity for all of us, staff, customers, partners, shareholders, and other stakeholders, to accelerate development in the telecommunications sector in Kenya. Looking ahead, we are aware that there is still a lot to be done. We're committing to working with our clients and partners to achieve our goal, to contribute to the socio-economic growth of Kenya. On behalf of the management and staff, I thank you for your participation and support for the company. Above all, we're grateful to the government of Kenya for enabling us thus far. I truly believe that together we'll be able to congregate several times more in the coming years to celebrate even more milestones. Thank you very much.
That's pretty incredible, and that's disruption, is it not? You know, my youngest son, we had to get him a phone because this is the world we are in now. They are digital, and so he has this little phone. And when I call him, he says to me, Mom, you're finishing my bundles, my data. You're finishing my, my credits. Now he has no excuse because I'll call him on video WhatsApp and he's got to talk to me. Congratulations. That's incredible. Let's give him another warm round of applause. Let me also say that the Director General of Communications Authority, I've never seen such a big smile on his face. He's been fighting many battles and saying we need to really have a lot going on, and I see him smiling today. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us give a warm welcome to Chairman of Telkom Kenya, Eddie Njoroge, to come up and make his remarks as well.
Can I get your number, maybe?
Are we moving forward? Are we? Okay, great. Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, and Cabinet Secretary, the ICT, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I really would want to thank all of you for coming here today. We know that most of you are very, very busy, especially at this time, but you chose to be with us because this indeed is a great day for us. Today, we open a new chapter in the history of Telkom Kenya. It is a new dawn and a new beginning for us as a company, as has just been said by our CEO. We are embarking on an exciting journey to fulfill our potential as Kenya's original national telecommunications operator. It has been a long journey indeed. We were established 18 years ago as Telkom upon the split of the then Kenya Post and Telecommunication, which was split into Postal Corporation and the regulator, and then Telkom. Over those years, Telkom has matured, and we have come of age. We are proud that we have been part of the mobile revolution that has had a huge impact on our economy and the way of life in our country, as we have just been told by the panelists who are here today. We are excited to be part of this journey, and as we begin this chapter, we hope that you'll be moving with us. But let me take you back, just a little back through history, because we believe that history is important because it is the mirror through which we reflect our future. Our heritage dates back to pre-independence days, the 1940s and the 1950s, when our telecommunication network was managed by the then East African Post and Telecommunication, which was headquartered in Kampala. This came to an end in 1977 at the collapse of the economic bloc, the East African Community. And it is then that the Kenya Post and Telecommunication was set up. We have then been going on, and in 2007 we were privatized as part of the government's privatization program. We then continued, and in 2008 we launched the mobile network, ensuring that it was no longer a fixed line business but a fully integrated telco service provider, which was one of the hallmarks of Telkom Kenya. In 2009, the business was part of the team that realized the landing of the country's first submarine cable and has shareholding even today in TEAMS, the East Africa Marine System, and Lion 2, the Royal Indian Ocean Network 2. And so we have been part of connecting Kenya to the international scene. In 2011, Telkom Kenya launched the 3G network. And today, we rededicate ourselves to our vision as a company to, in the long term, connect those people that make Kenya move. Kenya today is an attractive market for investment. Though through efforts from the government, we have seen significant improvements in the ease of doing business in Kenya. This is an important step towards ensuring that our country meets its long-term development goals as outlined in the Vision 2030. It is only by consistently attracting investments that we will be able to create employment opportunities for our youth and to generate value for the benefit of all Kenyans. The telco sector in Kenya has recorded massive growth over the last 2 decades. However, there is need for scrutiny and consideration in the sector in order to ensure fair competition. Because the question we ask is, how can investors get a return where a market is skewed? The market should not be allowed to operate as it is today for a number of reasons. One, it does not augur well for the sector's long-term growth. Two, it impacts growth of small players. And number three, it goes against pro-investment policies of the government of Kenya and risks throwing down foreign direct investments into the sector. The bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is that the market will not survive in the long term unless a robust policy mechanism is put in place to ensure healthy competition and overall sector development and growth by way of further investments. We do hope, and we know that this is being addressed through the ministry and the authority, and we are waiting to see the results of the discussions which are ongoing. On behalf of the board of Telkom Kenya, I wish to acknowledge the contribution of our staff across the country who continue to work tirelessly in building this historic organization. I particularly wish to pay tribute to the executive management team that we constituted over the last 1 year under the leadership of Chief Executive Aldo Meros for the strategic effort put in turning around this company. I also wish to express our confidence in the leadership of Telkom, which constitutes the finest and most experienced minds in the industry from Kenya and the rest of the world. I cannot forget the unwavering support of our close to 3 million subscribers on our mobile network and the many more that we serve on the corporate, public sector and SME front. Thank you for choosing to be served by Telkom Kenya. We welcome you in the next chapter of our future, with you at the center of it. I also wish to recognize the contribution and support from the government of Kenya through the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, and also to the National Treasury, our shareholders, and all other government agencies. In conclusion, on behalf of the board, management and staff of Telkom Kenya, I wish to reiterate our long-term commitment to this market. We are committed to continuing keeping Kenya on the move. Thank you, and may God bless you. And now it is my honor to call upon the CS of ICT, Mr. Joe Musheru, to come and address the gathering. Thank you.
Hear the birds call out my name. I'll look heaven.
Good morning, everybody. Our chief guest, my colleague Henry Rotich, ladies and gentlemen, mine is going to be very simple. First, congratulations, Telkom. I'm really glad to see that we now have serious competition in the market. And I can assure you, from both the government and the regulator, we will ensure you have full support. I think we all have been seeking to have this opportunity. I think I should say one thing. I mean, there's so many things I would say about Telkom. But what I'll say is about Kenya moving. I think, just listening to the panelists, you can see that we have, a spirit that's worked for us. People are determined, they have passion, they want to move forward. And I'm seeing that, Telkom is creating that platform to allow, the country to continue to grow. And platforms are the way to go. But for you to know whether you're moving, usually you can't say things for yourself. Usually people from outside are the ones who will be able to tell you that. And I wanted to just give 3 examples of why Kenya is moving. Very recently, our president was invited to Downing Street. It is a very rare time that any presidential candidate or candidate is invited 6 months before elections to Downing Street. But our president was invited. From there he went to China. In China, only 28 countries in the world were invited for the Silk Road discussion. Our president was number 7 in the list. They acknowledge that Kenya is actually moving. I was privileged to be with him in Taormina, in Italy, for the G7 summit. Kenya was invited to G7. Maybe you might have forgotten some of the stories given here. There's a time we were told that choices have consequences. But you saw that he was actually invited to speak about innovation and technology, because Kenya is being seen to be leading in that area within Africa and globally. So I can say that globally we have been recognized, and this is contributions from all of us. And I'm really glad that Telkom is now working and we can work with them to see Kenya move even further. So I'll not speak too much more. Henry is going to speak a lot more, so let me take this opportunity to introduce and invite our chief guest, our exchequer, Henry Rotich, to come and give his speech. Asante sana.
I don't intend to speak that long. As you may have seen from your program, the next speaker was actually His Excellency the President. As you know, I'm not that person. But he would have very much liked to be with you here today to witness this very important occasion. But due to very many commitments, including the commitments that are there at this particular time as we near the elections in August, your guess will be as good as mine where you would be now. So I have his speech, but before I read his speech, let me first congratulate Telkom Kenya for this milestone. I'll say how far we have come, the long journey we have had up to here at the end of the speech, and also the fantastic panelists that spoke before us here. I think sometimes I do attend international forums, and Julie sometimes is a panelist in some of the forums that I've attended, including the one we were in India and in the World Bank, IMF annual meetings. I'm always called upon to talk about innovation. And some of the examples are given are the ones this gentleman just talked about it. Sometimes I find myself in a very difficult situation to say a lot of innovations that's happening here in Kenya. As you know, sometimes I've told Joe, you should be going with me to this forum so that when I'm called as a panelist, you can say more. But I think now I'm a little bit empowered. I think I've heard their stories. Sometimes I'm told to talk about some of the things that's happening in Kenya, but I'm really, truly delighted and inspired for the milestones they have achieved. And I want to say that please do not restrict your innovation in only SMEs. Please also visit us in government. We think there is an opportunity that you can contribute to digitalize our public finances. I think in the forum that we had in Washington, there was a big talk about digitalizing public finances. And I think we need to really use some of the knowledge that we have locally here rather than taking some of the ideas that I see that are coming from outside. So please visit our offices to sell some of the ideas that you have. I think you can help resolve some of the issues that we have in government. So let me do the work I was asked to do, which is to come and give you the keynote address, which His Excellency the President would have very much liked to do so when he was invited for this occasion. So my colleague, CS Ministry of ICT, John Musheru, Chairman Telkom Kenya Limited in Njoroge, the PSS present here, the board and staff of Telkom, representatives of the media, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Is it good morning or good afternoon? Good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to join you this morning, that is this afternoon, on this. You know, the speech was written with the intention that it will be read in the morning hours. So it gives me great pleasure to join you this afternoon on this auspicious occasion as Telkom Kenya Limited opens a new chapter that signifies a transformational phase of its journey. I do hope that the new Telkom that we will witness beginning today will represent a step change in all aspects of the business to the delight of all stakeholders, starting with the customers. It is gratifying to note that the new leadership of Telkom has so far lived up to the promise to deliver as per the key milestones which was shared with the government of Kenya as one of the two shareholders in the company. Indeed, the relaunch of the Telkom brand is one of the milestones. Ladies and gentlemen, Telkom has over the years played its part in the Kenya's socio-economic development and continues to do so as an important operator in the telecommunication sector. For instance, the government through the Ministry of ICT and the National Constituency Development Fund has partnered with Telkom to realize the installation of 1,160 constituency incubation hubs in all 290 constituencies across the country. In addition, the launch of the Huduma centers throughout the country in partnership with Telkom has ensured that these one-stop shop citizen service centers continue to enhance efficiency and easy access to government services for all. From its days as the first national operator through the recent times of economic liberalization and technological breakthroughs in the telecommunication industry, with competition setting in, Telkom has proved to be a resilient player that is in business for the long haul. I challenge Telkom to be a front runner in innovation and therefore position itself as a worthy competitor in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, the combination of Kenya's youthful and educated population, vibrant private sector, entrepreneurial spirit and strategic location offers unique opportunities and potential for businesses, not least for ICT-related businesses. Not surprisingly, therefore, Kenya has developed world-renowned ICT capabilities and solutions, supported by a liberalized and predictable business environment. ICT is at the heart of our national strategy to accelerate productivity of all sectors and empowering people to meet the challenges of the 21st century. Since the beginning of the liberalization of the telecommunication sector, and especially the advent of the internet and mobile technologies, its impact has been tremendous in more than one way. First, the sector has contributed to the national development agenda by creating employment for thousands of Kenyans. Between the year 2000 and 2017, the number of mobile phone users rose from 180,000 to 38 million, with mobile data subscriptions getting close to 27 million, further driving the connectivity agenda. Third, the revolutionary mobile financial services platform has not only become the hallmark of this sector, but an important cog in moving our economy forward. And fourth, innovations in the mobile telephony industry continues to lead the way in mobile-first solutions in the health, education, financial, and agricultural sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, in line with Kenya's long-term development agenda under Vision 2030, Kenya is on course to create a knowledge-based economy that will be driven by technology-related productivity and innovation. The country's national broadband strategy, a flagship Vision 2030 project launched in 2013, seeks to realize a knowledge-based economy driven by the high-capacity nationwide broadband network. The National Optic Fiber Backbone Infrastructure, NOFB, is a key public investment in this regard currently managed by Telkom. NOFB aims at ensuring connectivity in all the 47 counties of Kenya and has been influential in easing communication and therefore helping reduce the cost of doing business. On its part, the government of Kenya remains committed to making the business environment more and more conducive for doing business. We are happy to note that the initiative for better business environment that we continue to pursue are bearing fruit. As confirmed by the independent World Bank Doing Business report, our efforts for continuously reforming business regulatory environment has placed Kenya in the 92nd position and the third most improved globally. We continue to engage the private sector and the investor community in this endeavor. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate Telkom on opening a new chapter of its rich journey, moving with us towards a progressive Kenya. My very best wishes as you move forward as a re-energized brand. Thank you. That was let me just say a little bit about the journey we have traveled with the Telkom. Indeed, it is true that Telkom was really a sleeping giant. In fact, snoring very heavily, because the management at that time, I think even Eddie Njoroge was still the chair, keep on coming to Treasury for funds. And I told him that we are not going to provide any single cent because we knew that they were sleeping. It was just a matter of waking up and doing what they were required to do. But really, I want to first thank the Orange Kenya at that time, who I think we worked very closely to manage the transaction up to where we are now. And I want really to thank them for being very patient. It was a very long transaction. I think it took almost 2 years just to negotiate. And I think their patients were really helpful in us getting a true partner, which I think that happened in the last year actually, around this time. So I think since then we have seen a lot of progress. I think the CEO has already presented to you their strategy, and as a shareholder, as you know, the government of Kenya owns 40% now. We managed to get back 10% more. As you know, when it was slipping, we were just losing, we were being diluted. But I think we have a lot of confidence. That's the reason why we felt that we should increase our shareholding to that 40%. So I just want to say that as a National Treasury, we will continue to work very closely. I know the potential that is there in Telkom. Already you've laid out the plan. I used to think WhatsApp is free, but I was reminded by Joe that you must have bundles to make it free. But I thought, so I think congratulations for the free things that I have seen. I believe that is the right way, but I hope you'll make money. So that you don't come back again to Treasury. But I truly want to say that it has been a long journey, and I want to say that we will work closely. We know that the market is competitive, but I believe you're bringing a different angle of things, and I think Kenya needs more choices now, and I think that you are bringing on the table. So with those remarks, I know there is still a ceremony to be done. I don't know, maybe you should join us for the official launch as we go.
Much. Can I also ask Director General, please, to join the team? Thank you.
Okay. Now is the moment we've been waiting for, and I will ask the CS to start our new journey.
Celebrating our heritage, we are stepping into a bold new future. Join us. Telkom, moving with you. Celebrating our heritage, we are stepping into a bold new future. Join us. Telkom, moving with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I...